America just got slapped with a nightmare headline. The government has issued an emergency recall for 8 different foods across all 50 states. Think about that for a second. 50 states, coast to coast, all at once. If food can no longer be trusted at this scale, what does that say about the grocery chains we depend on? Behind every recall is not just contamination, but a broken system. Supply chains stretched thin, safety checks ignored, profits prioritized over protection. The CDC warns that foodborne pathogens already hospitalize more than 128,000 Americans every year, and heavy metal contaminants like lead and arsenic add invisible dangers that build up silently in our bodies. How many families right now are seasoning dinner with poison, spoon-feeding their children toxins marketed as organic or premium? How many seniors on fixed incomes are unknowingly buying into their own decline? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And tonight we expose why 8 foods were ripped off shelves nationwide, while also showing you the safe alternatives at the end of each section. Number 1. Deli meats. Just weeks ago, headlines exploded with news that shook the very foundation of America's kitchen tables. Deli meats. Those trusted staples of quick sandwiches and Sunday spreads were pulled from shelves in an emergency recall spanning all 50 states. The trigger was no minor hiccup. Health inspectors uncovered Listeria monocytogenes lurking inside products from Boar's Head, a brand that has long paraded itself as the gold standard of premium. What started with a contaminated batch of liverwurst grew into a nationwide nightmare. More than 7 million pounds of deli meats, stamped with establishment code EST 12612, were suddenly declared hazardous. At least 18 states reported infections, hospitals filled with more than 60 patients, and 10 families were left grieving loved ones who never came home. This wasn't just food gone bad. It was a betrayal baked right into the system, where blood-stained factory floors and mold-covered ceilings told a story of neglect hidden behind glossy ads. The cruelty of this outbreak lands hardest on those already living on the margins. For retirees stretching every Social Security dollar, deli meat had been marketed as salvation in plastic wrap. Quick, convenient, and safe. But that illusion crumbled the moment Listeria revealed itself as the silent killer it is, claiming nearly 1 in 5 elderly victims it touches. The irony is cruel. These bacteria thrive in the very refrigerated environments consumers believe protect them. Grocery slicers aren't shiny machines. They are greasy merry-go-rounds of filth, where condensation drips like a broken faucet and residue festers until the stench rises like an unwelcome ghost. And while Boar's Head carried the latest scandal, it was hardly alone. Oscar Mayer has been accused of pushing production lines past the point of basic hygiene, while smaller suppliers quietly resticker expired meats, essentially practicing corporate witchcraft, selling expired corpses under the disguise of freshness. Each slice is not tradition, but a gamble that could end in an ICU bed. And beneath the bacteria lies another truth just as ugly. Many of these so-called premium meats are stitched together with transglutaminase, better known as meat glue, creating fake whole cuts out of scraps. Brines pumped with phosphates keep meats looking plump while battering kidneys and weakening hearts, the exact organs most vulnerable in seniors. Grocery stores push value packs at low-income families as though they're doing charity, but in reality, they're Trojan horses smuggling hidden medical costs into homes already weighed down by hospital bills. The machinery is relentless. Conveyor belts run faster than human hands can clean. Corporate lawyers write off fines as pocket change, and consumers, especially the elderly, become unwilling participants in an experiment where every sandwich could be their last. But here's the twist corporations don't want you to consider. There are safer paths, though not without vigilance. Choosing cleaner alternatives from Applegate Naturals, Dystal Turkey Ranch, Organic Valley, Mary's Free Range, Turkey, or even smaller regional names like Neiman Ranch and Coleman Natural can at least steer families toward producers with tighter oversight and stricter standards. These aren't flawless saints, but they don't dress toxins in tuxedos and sell them as tradition. Supporting them is more than shopping. It is a protest, a refusal to let your health be carved up and shrink-wrapped for profit. Because in the end, deli meats were never just about sandwiches. They became symbols of a system that slices away at public trust until only scraps are left. Number 2. Frozen shrimp. Late this year, an announcement sent shockwaves through grocery aisles from Florida to Oregon. Frozen shrimp, one of the most consumed seafoods in America, was yanked from shelves after radioactive cesium-137 was detected in imported batches tied to Indonesia's PT. Bahari Makmur Sajadi. Federal inspectors flagged containers at Los Angeles, Houston, Savannah, and Miami ports, uncovering shipments with measurable radiation, one breaded sample clocking in at 68 becquerels per kilo. Though officials insist these levels sit below intervention thresholds, the recall expanded across 13 states for Walmart's Great Value shrimp, and over 30 states for Kroger, Mercado, and Aquastar bags. More than 85,000 bags vanished overnight, refunds handed out, and an import alert slapped on the supplier. The FDA frames it as precaution, yet the word radioactive alone is enough to turn a family dinner into a horror scene, where the pink curls on your plate double as glowing question marks about what else might be sneaking in unseen. And the betrayal stretches deeper. For years, imported shrimp supply chains have been plagued by mislabeling and abuse. Restaurants from Charleston to Wilmington were exposed for passing off farmed imports as local catch, while NGOs documented laborers enslaved on fishing boats, forced into 20-hour shifts under threats of violence. Imagine buying a bag marked sustainably harvested, only to learn the true harvest was human misery, shrink-wrapped for your freezer. Add to that the environmental wreckage. Shrimp ponds leaking antibiotic sludge into waterways, mangroves bulldozed, fish kills piling up, and it becomes clear that each discounted bag is more than food. It is a postcard from disaster, stamped with denial. Consumers thought they were purchasing health. Instead, they've been subsidizing a system that poisons oceans, workers, and eventually their own bodies. What makes this moment more unnerving is the future it hints at. If today's recalls reveal radioactive signatures, what comes next? Could trace contaminants slowly accumulate until cancer rates rise in silence? Will corporate giants like Walmart and Kroger gamble again with imported stock once the headlines fade, knowing that oversight can be bypassed if profits demand it? Or will these scandals finally push regulators to tighten enforcement, forcing transparency where smoke and mirrors once reigned? Both shoppers and suppliers now sit in a bind. Consumers cannot live without affordable protein, while corporations cannot admit how brittle their supply chains truly are. The tragedy is that both sides are trapped in a dance where one misstep could mean another recall, another bill, another grave. For those unwilling to play this radioactive roulette, alternatives demand attention. Shrimp from Vital Choice, Henry and Lisa's Natural Seafood, Wild Planet Foods, and Gulf Crown have built reputations on stricter audits and cleaner sourcing. They cost more, but at least they're not seasoned with cesium or tainted by labor exploitation. Each purchase becomes a vote. Will you keep rewarding chains that treat you as expendable, or will you send your dollars toward brands that at least attempt to respect both the oceans and the people who fish them? The freezer aisle has become a battlefield, and the real question is whose side your plate will stand on. Number 3. Seafood Poke. September 2025 brought a gut-churning jolt when Costco was forced to recall over 3,000 pounds of Kirkland's signature Ahai tuna wasabi poke after green onions in the mix tested positive for listeria. Unlike a mislabeled can or an allergen warning, this was a ready-to-eat meal that many customers ate raw, trusting the Costco brand name stamped on its clear clamshell package. No cooking step, no safety net. Just cubes of fish and garnishes marketed as fresh and safe. Listeria doesn't need much to wreak havoc. It slips into the body quietly and then devastates pregnant women, the elderly, and anyone whose health is already fragile. What looked like a colorful Hawaiian-style treat could instead be a microscopic ambush waiting in your fridge. The scandal doesn't stand alone. It stacks on top of Costco's shaky seafood reputation. Not long ago, lawsuits accused Kirkland Tuna of false dolphin-safe claims, while its fish oil pills were sued for overstating omega benefits. Shoppers even sued after discovering live worms wriggling in Kirkland halibut fillets. Add the notorious controversy over prawns linked to forced labor in Thailand, and a pattern emerges. Costco's seafood supply chain reads more like a crime blotter than a health aisle. The company hides behind glossy assurances of audits and codes of conduct, yet again and again its brand is dragged into the spotlight for cutting corners. That trusted Kirkland logo, once shorthand for value and quality, now feels like a mask covering a far uglier truth. And the future? It's a tightrope. Will Costco double down on rigorous sourcing to rebuild trust? Or will it quietly resume business as usual once headlines fade, betting that customers will forgive as long as prices stay low? Consumers themselves face a cruel dilemma. Affordable poke bowls feel like luxury within reach, but behind each container may lurk pathogens, parasites, or exploitation. If recalls keep mounting, poke could shift from trendy indulgence to food pariah, abandoned by shoppers too afraid of ending up in the ER. Yet if demand holds steady, corporations may gamble again, rolling dice with public health while padding their profits. Which way will the tide turn, and will consumers realize they are the ones paying the ultimate price? For those unwilling to stomach the risk, safer bets exist. Brands like Safe Catch, Blue Harbor, Fish Co., Pacific Sustainable Seafood, Genki Sushi, and even Whole Foods' 365 line offer more transparent sourcing and tighter safety audits. They're not perfect, but at least they aren't dressing up contaminated garnish as a tropical escape. Each purchase is a choice. Fund the chains that treat your trust as disposable, or support producers who, however imperfect, are less likely to leave you clutching your stomach in a hospital ward. In the end, the poke bowl has become a litmus test. Are you buying health or just renting trouble in a plastic clamshell? Number 4. Frozen rice. What looked like the simplest dinner hack of the season. A colorful bag of Good & Gather Southwest-style burrito bowl blend from Target has now become the latest entry on the FDA's recall list. In September 2025, more than 57,000 bags were flagged after consumers found shrimp hiding inside a product labeled vegetarian. For millions with shellfish allergies, even a crumb is enough to close an airway in minutes. Imagine trusting a frozen rice mix to feed the grandkids, only to find that what was billed as a plant-based meal could trigger an ambulance ride before dessert. The recall stretched across all 50 states, showing just how far a single labeling failure can spread its shadow. The bigger insult is that this isn't Target's first stumble. Earlier this year, over 25,000 units of Good & Gather baby food were pulled after tests revealed dangerous levels of lead. Parents spooning what they thought was healthy puree were unknowingly dosing their infants with a neurotoxin. Lawsuits have piled up over no preservative sauces that quietly contained synthetics, veggie straws that weren't preservative-free, and raisin packs marketed as all-natural despite traces of pesticides. Even frozen fruit snacks were caught in so-called slack-fill packaging. Half bag, half air, all deception. Layer these scandals together, and the brand's wholesome image begins to look more like a stage prop than a promise. The scale of the allergy problem makes this latest misstep especially chilling. The CDC links undeclared allergens to more recalls than any other hazard, and food allergies account for more than 200,000 emergency visits annually. Shellfish ranks among the most lethal triggers, with reactions escalating in minutes. For low-income or retired shoppers trying to stretch each grocery dollar, tossing out an entire freezer bag isn't just inconvenient. It's money wasted and trust shattered. And each wasted bag is a reminder that corporations will happily gamble with your health if it keeps the production lines running without pause. Looking ahead, the uncertainty only deepens. Will Target invest in stricter allergen controls, or will this recall fade into memory as yet another line on a growing rap sheet? If supply chains remain loose, more hidden ingredients could slip past, leaving consumers one bite away from disaster. For shoppers, the choice becomes a cruel dilemma: convenience at a discount or safety at a premium. What would you choose if the price of a bargain dinner was your airway? For those ready to step off the conveyor belt, other brands set a safer course. Amy's Kitchen, Lundberg Family Farms, Lotus Foods, and Earth's Best have emphasized cleaner sourcing and stronger oversight. They don't promise perfection, but they don't hide shrimp and vegetarian rice either. Picking them means more than just swapping bags. It's a declaration that your health isn't for sale at the freezer aisle. Because the truth is clear, what Target dressed up as wholesome convenience turned out to be betrayal sealed in plastic. Proof that sometimes the most dangerous ingredient is the trust we give too easily. Number 5. Ground cinnamon. Cinnamon has always carried the fragrance of innocence. Sprinkled on oatmeal, stirred into coffee, baked into pies that signal family and comfort. Yet September 2025 ripped the mask off this beloved spice when the FDA expanded recalls on multiple ground cinnamon brands, warning that jars sold in discount stores and ethnic markets contained lead levels ranging from 2 to nearly 8 parts per million. That might sound small until you realize lead doesn't leave the body. It stacks like bricks in bones and brains, slowly robbing children of IQ points and pushing seniors closer to kidney failure and memory decline. The very spice once sold as a heart-healthy boost for retirees now hides the same heavy metal that poisoned Flint's water supply. This betrayal is not a one-off mistake. Investigations show how shady suppliers stretch cinnamon with fillers laced with lead chromate, brightening color while darkening health outcomes. Dollar stores and budget chains, Family Dollar, Save a Lot, Dollar Tree, became the dumping grounds for these tainted jars, targeting low-income families who could least afford to gamble. Consumer groups already flagged brands like Badaya and others for high lead before. And the applesauce pouch scandal tied to cinnamon just 2 years earlier sickened nearly 500 kids. It's a pattern, not an accident, and regulators admit there's no federal lead limit for spices strong enough to stop it. The numbers make the danger hard to ignore. About 200,000 ER visits each year in the US stem from food allergies, but heavy metal contamination is more insidious. It doesn't strike in minutes, it stalks for decades. A child eating applesauce with contaminated cinnamon may not collapse at the table, but 5 years later, their test scores plummet. An older adult adding a daily spoonful for blood sugar finds their kidneys quietly failing. Lead is a thief that doesn't kick down the door. It sneaks in with every sprinkle. What's worse, watchdog reports have traced much of this supply to regions where labor abuses persist. Children grinding spices in dusty sheds without protection, inhaling toxins so Americans can buy cinnamon rolls at cut-rate prices. So every jar of bargain cinnamon may come seasoned not just with poison, but with exploitation. Shoppers thought they were buying sweetness. They were underwriting suffering. Yet consumers are not powerless. Safer paths include brands that invest in heavy metal testing and transparent sourcing. McCormick Gourmet, Morton & Bassett, Simply Organic, Frontier Co-op, and Louisa Organic. Grinding your own sticks from trusted sources like Lotus Foods or Whole Foods 365 also slams the door on adulteration. They cost more, but they don't marinate your breakfast in slow-acting poison. Cinnamon was supposed to warm kitchens with comfort. Now it's a cautionary tale that even sweetness can carry a bitter aftertaste when corporations value profit over health. Number 6. Baby food. On September 16, 2025, Sprout Organics recalled its sweet potato, apple and spinach baby food pouches after routine testing revealed elevated lead. The lot in question. Number 4, 212, expiring October 29, was sold across Walgreens and smaller stores in the South, and though no illnesses have yet been reported, the danger is not the kind that makes headlines overnight. Lead doesn't strike like salmonella or listeria. It lingers, accumulates, and sabotages a child's development invisibly. Even at levels far below what an adult might notice, infants can suffer reduced IQ, behavioral problems, or irreversible neurological harm. Parents who reached for these pouches thought they were buying organic safety, but what they placed in their pantry was essentially a slow poison packaged in bright green leaves and cheerful cartoons. This betrayal has a history. Sprout was already named in a congressional report for refusing to release internal test data on heavy metals, and they are not alone. Gerber, Beechnut, Plum, even supermarket chains like Target's Good and Gather have faced recalls or investigations for lead and arsenic contamination. Reuters found this year that many brands regularly fail California's tougher standards, hiding results by averaging batches so dangerous lots disappear in the math. Regulators whisper about acceptable limits, yet scientists are clear. No level of lead is safe for children, so parents are left in a cruel paradox. Told to trust organic baby food as the premium choice, only to find that the label may be nothing more than marketing gloss slapped over toxic inputs. The timing makes it even more chilling. These pouches were sold as recently as late 2024, meaning pantries right now could still be stocked with danger disguised as dinner. And as the holiday season approaches, when grandparents stock up on baby snacks for family gatherings, the chance of exposure multiplies. Will another wave of tests reveal that this recall was just the tip of a much larger iceberg? Or will the industry once again smooth things over until the next scandal erupts? The uncertainty leaves both parents and corporations cornered, one side terrified, the other desperate to keep shelves full. For families unwilling to play roulette with their children's brains, some companies offer more transparency. Once Upon a Farm posts independent lab tests. Yumi runs soil checks before harvest. Little Spoon keeps supply chains short, and Amara Organic, or Earth's Best, emphasize lower heavy metal sourcing. They are not flawless, but they at least attempt to treat infants as humans rather than revenue streams. Every purchase becomes a statement, whether you side with corporations that gamble with irreversible harm, or with producers that recognize children should never be test subjects in a toxic experiment. Number 7. Smoked fish. Smoked fish has long been sold as the picture of elegance on a budget. The salmon spread at Sunday brunch, the sea bass slices on a cracker at holiday parties. But the recall announced mid-September 2025 ripped that illusion apart. Haifa Smoked Fish, a New York company with products shipped nationwide, forced to pull back its cold-smoked salmon and sea bass after New York inspectors found listeria lurking inside. Unlike bacteria that die in heat, listeria survives and even thrives in the cool fridge Americans trust. That means every unopened package sitting in pantries and freezers was less an appetizer and more a loaded gun, especially for the elderly, pregnant women, or anyone with fragile immunity. No hospitalizations have been confirmed yet, but public health experts warn that incubation can take weeks, so the real toll may not be known until holiday tables are already set. The betrayal cuts deeper when you realize this company is no rookie to scandal. For decades, Haifa Smoked Fish has racked up FDA warning letters, recalls, and citations for filthy facilities where condensation dripped onto food lines and listeria was swabbed again and again from equipment. Even in 2010, over 20 lots were recalled for the very same pathogen. This isn't an accident. It's a cycle of negligence dressed up with glossy packaging and the promise of traditional flavor. Each relapse shows that earlier fixes were band-aids on a wound the company never cared to heal. To the public, that means trust shattered twice over. First by contamination, then by the knowledge that executives let history repeat itself. And the risk isn't confined to one label. Cold smoked fish has been one of the stealthiest vehicles for outbreaks in America because it bypasses cooking entirely. Consumers see it marketed as heart-healthy omega-3, but don't see the bacteria breeding in damp warehouses and vacuum-sealed packs. For seniors on fixed incomes trying to swap burgers for something doctor-approved, it's a cruel irony. The food pitched as medicine could end up as a cause of hospitalization. With distribution already spread across the country, this recall feels less like a warning and more like a reminder that the seafood aisle itself can turn into a minefield. For those unwilling to play dice with their health, safer paths exist. Brands like Sea Bear Smokehouse, Northie Bergquist Papapassiberg, Ducktrap River of Maine, and Blue Hill Bay have built stronger reputations for traceability and smaller batch oversight. They may not be stacked high in every discount freezer, but they don't come with the baggage of decades of contamination. Choosing them isn't just about taste, it's about refusing to let corporate amnesia decide whether your next brunch spread leads to laughter or an ambulance. Number 8. Mac and cheese. Mac and cheese has always been sold as America's edible hug. Cheap, filling, and fast enough to keep seniors and working parents from going hungry. But the September 2025 recall of Goodles exposed that even this comfort food staple can hide venom. Boxes marketed as vegan and plant-based were found to contain undeclared milk, while a truffle-flavored version carried undeclared cashews. 8 allergic reactions have already been reported, proof that a simple dinner can spiral into ER visits when labels lie. For people with dairy or nut allergies, a single forkful isn't nostalgia. It's a game of Russian roulette with their airway. The scandal lands harder because Goodles wasn't some shadow brand. It was backed by celebrities, plastered across Target, Walmart, and Whole Foods, and pitched as the better-for-you mac and cheese. That marketing halo made the betrayal sting worse. If the company promising clean label comfort can't keep allergens straight, what hope is there for the rest of the boxed food aisle? And this isn't just Goodles' mess. Kraft Heinz, the king of mac and cheese, has been dragged into lawsuits over phthalates leaching from packaging, chemicals tied to hormone disruption and infertility. Inspectors have even found metal shards and mold creeping into noodles from breakneck production lines. When regulators say undeclared allergens are the #1 cause of US recalls, mac and cheese suddenly looks less like dinner and more like bait. Numbers reveal the true scope. Americans consume nearly 1 million boxes of Kraft mac and cheese every single day. That means 1 million chances for undeclared allergens, 1 million doses of hormone-altering chemicals, and 1 million opportunities for corporations to gamble with public health. For retirees on Social Security or single parents stretching paychecks, That bright blue box was supposed to mean security. Instead, it became betrayal wrapped in cardboard. Consumers who refuse to swallow corporate negligence do have alternatives. Annie's Homegrown, Banza, and Amy's Kitchen offer versions with stricter sourcing, plant-based proteins, and third-party testing. They cost more, but they don't sneak milk into vegan boxes or lace nostalgia with infertility risks. The truth is simple: mac and cheese could still be comfort, but only if buyers stop letting corporations weaponize childhood favorites for profit. Your food should heal, not harm. Subscribe now, stay alert, and never let corporations gamble with your family's future.
Thank you for watching today's video all the way through. If you found the content helpful, don't forget to click like and subscribe to stay updated to our latest daily videos. Now feel free to check out other feature videos currently shown on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.